Capital Destruction via Exponential Government Growth, The Collapse of Capitalism, and the Crack-Up Boom, by Tyler Abayo Jordan. When state growth outpaces real economic growth, it must issue more and more bonds to cover its expenses. When it reaches a level of debt where its tax base can no longer pay even for the interest on its outstanding bonds, it must then issue bonds to pay the interest as well. In order to attract capital to pay for this blatant and obvious Ponzi scheme, interest rates must go much higher. Eventually rates would become exponential, but before that the state will legislate to bypass bond markets and begin counterfeiting instead. Shortly prior to reaching the mass counterfeiting stage, the high bond interest rates will drive capital from investment markets and into government bond markets. This mass migration of capital necessarily collapses stock markets and stifles the creation of new companies, as entrepreneurs and investors won't risk capital if there is no clear avenue for generating a return. Essentially, this stage is marked by a collapse in capitalism and the takeover of the economy by the state. Hyperinflation shortly ensues, what Ludwig von Mises called the crack-up boom. Many nations have suffered this fate in previous decades: Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, to name but a few. The crack-up boom is a term coined by Austrian economist Ludwig von Mises to describe the final stage of a fiat currency system. In a crack-up boom, people lose faith in the currency and start hoarding goods and assets. Mises argued that crack-up booms are inevitable in fiat currency systems because fiat currencies are not backed by anything of intrinsic value. As a result, governments can print as much money as they want, which leads to inflation. The crack-up boom can be characterized by the following events and attitudes toward fiat currency: rapid inflation of the money supply, the value of the currency plummets, and prices for goods and services rise rapidly. Hoarding: people start hoarding goods and assets, such as Bitcoin, gold, and silver, as a hedge against inflation. Loss of faith: people lose faith in the currency and believe that it is no longer a reliable store of value. This rapidly drives hyperinflation as everyone rushes to sell their fiat currency for anything of real value. Crime and violence: fiat currency becomes worthless, theft, looting, home invasions and assaults accelerate as people lose their livelihoods and search for any means of survival in a broken economy. The crack-up boom is a destructive event that can have a devastating impact on an economy. It leads to mass poverty, social unrest, crime, and violence. Mises argued that the only way to prevent a crack-up boom is to return to a sound currency system. Some suggestions on how to preserve yourself and family: 1. Move away from cities and into farming communities. 2. Grow a large garden and learn to store food. 3. Build ties to the local community, join community groups and be involved. 4. Join or develop local trading groups that utilize sound money for trade. 5. Start a business that serves the local community. 6. Lastly, convert any spare fiat into sound money. Best of luck to you and yours, and thank you for listening and sharing. Find my posts on Twitter at _darkpill.